Hello and welcome to Soul Nectar Show. I'm your host, Carrie Hummingbird, and I'm really looking forward to today to a beautiful discussion with my guest, Tom Evans. Welcome, Tom.
Hi, it's great to see you again.
So, Soul Nectar Show, we love to explore spirituality and awakening through sharing each other's stories, kind of like we're sitting around the campfire together, sharing our stories of our journeys. And, we always get opened when we hear someone's story. We get open to a new possibility for ourselves. We get open to a new perspective, a new way of understanding what it is that we're here to do. Why are we here? And so Tom has a really unique story he's going to share with us today, and I'm actually really excited to hear about this. So Tom is the author of Managing Time Mindfully, the authority guide to practical mindfulness, and 12 other books. He is the creator of Mindfulness-Based Time Management, an 8-week program that will change the speed and nature of your thoughts so you can get more done in less time. He is one of the top meditation guides on the Insight Timer app and a major contributor to their mission to get the whole world meditating one person at a time. As an ex-BBC broadcast engineer, he has applied his analytical and practical mindset to how we can use mindfulness meditation techniques to increase our creativity, productivity, and overall well-being without burnout. And that is so important in this world today. Oh my goodness, like how busy are we? I just launched, the Skills Not Pills movement, and I'm super busy, Tom. So I'm glad we're having this conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about your story, because we love, on this broadcast, we really love to hear people's personal stories. Tell us a little bit about your story of unfolding to remember who you are and what you're here to do. I know we talked just briefly before we started the broadcast about really loving the caterpillar chrysalis butterfly modality, that concept, and that you have stepped into butterflies. So tell us a little bit though about your caterpillar chrysalis and then this
Yeah.
butterfly piece.
Well, I only heard about that whole metaphor a week ago when I interviewed you on my podcast, which is great. And after I'm going, hang on a minute, yeah, it so fits, and it maybe fits with a lot of people. And you don't know when you're in one phase that the other phase exists, do you? When you're a caterpillar, you think that's it. And I was a successful, colourful, joyful caterpillar working in high tech. I worked in broadcast. I had my own company when I was 25. I was shipping widgets around the world, solving engineering problems for broadcasters, and made my first million by the time I was at 30. And then early 1990s, my company got taken over, and I was made technical director. And I said, look, we've got to get into this thing called the internet. And they said, oh, it'll never work. You'll never get audio and video over the internet. It's always been too slow. So I threw my toys out the pram, and I did a year of gardening leave because I was on this non-compete clause. And then I formed an internet company and sold that a bit later. That sold again for a nice sum. But after two successful business growths and exit, I was pretty burnt out in my mid-40s. And someone said, you look really haggard, start meditating. And like many people, I said, well, I'm too busy. I can't make my mind go quiet. But I persisted. And that's what got me into the chrysalis phase. I didn't know at the time. I was pretty bored. Gave up a perfectly good job without one to go to. And I wrote a book by accident. Wasn't planning to write a book. I did it as a favor for a graphic designer who wanted some words to go with her images. So I wrote it in a 747 at 39,000 feet, halfway across the Atlantic. And when I landed, I published it as a PDF. We didn't have Kindles in those days. It took off. People started approaching me saying, will you help me write a book? And I had no tools. So I went and trained as a coach and a past life regression therapist. And I found I was really good at getting rid of writer's block. So I thought, that's it. That's me for the rest of my life. I'm going to be an author and an author's mentor. And so I started writing books, put meditations with my books to help. And that was pretty much it for, I'd say, the next 10 years. And then I met an earth angel who gave me some DVDs and said, you'll know what to do with these. And I didn't at the time, but I started looking through them. And I started studying metaphysics. I signed up with a couple of esoteric schools. And I found out that the engineer was really good at explaining the really, really complicated things in a simple way. And then the butterfly started doing meditations that went with the esoteric study that awaken people up. I got discovered by this app called Insight Timer, and they love the British accent, the sense of humor, the fact I don't take it seriously, the fact it's the storytelling in my meditations and this sort of stuff. And from nowhere, I discovered I was a meditation teacher. But behind that even that is like one level of butterfly. The other level is someone that can take the esoteric and make it exoteric, just by changing one letter. Esoteric means unknown and ununderstood and hidden, and exoteric means understood and known. So that's been
Wow,
my
just by
transition.
changing one letter. Wow, that is cool.
Yeah, and I like that. And a lot of the awakenings, we know some stuff, and just by changing it ever so slightly, we get a new awakening. And I love that subtlety to it all.
Yeah, I like the journey. I like the unfolding, the unexpected. Like you start off thinking you're one thing, and then all of a sudden you find out you're something completely different, and all the skills apply. So it's interesting how the same is true in your journey, like all those years of engineering, and that all applies to what you're doing now.
It does. It means I got one foot in the material plane because I know how to do things. I know how to edit audio and video, and I'm pretty neat around the internet and this sort of stuff, putting websites together. But I've got this other foot in the heavens, if you like, in the above. So, and I feel like I'm this conduit and connector with my heart at the center from the above to the below.
So how do you navigate things? Because there's lots of different approaches to navigating ideas. You've had all these wonderful ideas come up in your life, entrepreneurial, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And so how has that journey changed for you over your lifetime? This, getting the inspiration, getting the insight, the idea, and then manifesting it or bringing it into fruition. How do you view that differently now than maybe you did when you were younger?
Well, I think I understand the process. I understand the fundamental process behind where ideas come from, how to conjure them up and summon them up when you need an idea, what happens when they get blocked, and the reason they get blocked, and then how to nurture them and guide them into the material plane. And it's funny that you opened before we started recording with opening the space with calling the west, the south, the east, the north, and the above and below. And one of the tools I use is a tool called the cube of space, which is it literally is a cube, and it uses on the four sides the four elements. And the archetypal world is the idea of, that's where ideas sit. Then we form them into, we go into the creative world, which is where we nursemaid the ideas into some sort of shape. Then we form them into something which gives them a time in which they're going to unfold, and then we bring them into the material plane. And I call that the cascade of creativity. What's good about it is it invokes all the four worlds, all the four elements, and ends up connecting the above to the below, which I think is part of the game, is getting this information from spirit and creating, as I think Jennifer Hoff said, they're creating this heaven on earth. We don't need to go back to heaven. We've got it down here.
Yeah, we are the heaven on earth construction crew, in her words.
That's for sure, yeah. But if we miss one of those steps, if we try and go too quickly from idea through fruition, we can fall short, and we can not maybe take the best advantage for all the spin-offs that can come of what we think of. In the same way, if I just said I was just going to be this author that's going to keep creating meditations, this other version of me wouldn't have been allowed to come forward, if you know what I mean.
So that's a really interesting thing. I've danced with this myself because my creative channel is very open. So the insights always come in. And then it's sort of like the time, marrying time with insight. That part seems to be a challenge for a lot of people. And definitely I've experienced that, where I'll get the big insight and then I'll go, great, let me start on it right now.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And sometimes that's not correct. Sometimes that idea only came in to set the stage, or to kind of give me like, okay, here's a marker. This is where you're going to be. But right now, you're doing this other thing that's going to lead to that. So I think a lot of times, and I know in my journey, I could get the insight, and then determining right timing would be the next challenge. So how do you guide people through that process of, right timing? What is right timing, and how
right timing? It's natural time. It's the thesis behind mindfulness space-time management, actually, which is this program that came to me, has been delivered to me. It's in its third iteration now. It started life as bending time, which is just some techniques to stretch time, getting to the zone, because my podcast is called The Zone Show, and I wrote a book called The Zone. And so the first iteration of it was bend time, just getting to that meditative state where you get your left and right brain in sync with each other. The right brain sits outside space and time, the left brain sits inside space and time. I've got some lovely yogic breathing techniques to synchronize the two hemispheres and go into the flow state. And then I started adding more modules to it, call it living timefully, and how you went about living your life in a very timeful manner. And the idea behind that is that if you use mindfulness techniques, you end up with more time. And if you've got more time on your hands, you've got more time to be kind to yourself and to kind to other people. And then the planet is kind to you back in return. And then in the last year, it developed into this 8-week course. I noticed everyone in the mindfulness fraternity had an 8-week course. I can do that too. And they got a 21-day meditation retreat at the end of it as well. And that kind of fits. And in the mindfulness-based time management course, what I do is deconstruct time. I wrote this book called Managing Time Mindfully. And I went right back to the dawn of time, right back to the Big Bang, and then moved forward in time, gave a brief history of time, not in a kind of Stephen Hawking way, but in another way of how we started counting time. And what happened is we started putting time on ourselves so we could run our modern world. Great that we're meeting at the right time. And we'd done the calculation with time zones. But time zones are only 130 years old. We didn't have them until 1884 when we first came out. And it's only because we started traveling internationally, railways at first and then ships and then planes, that we needed to have different time zones. And in fact, I've got a great meditation, if anyone's listening, to get rid of jet lag that sends your astral body on ahead of you and then your physical body catches up later. And it's zero
Oh,
jet.
that's cool.
Yeah, anyway, that's kind of an aside, really. But so basically, because we've constructed this time system, we've also become slightly enslaved by it, especially now we're 24/7 and always on. And if you go back to natural time, you find that you can get more things done with less time. So after 3 books, I noticed that I only wrote them in spring. So I didn't try and write the 4th book till spring came again, so I could spring forward. Obviously, that's different, from the northern and southern hemispheres. I also noticed that the moon had an effect on our consciousness. And in some esoteric literature I read, I discovered that at different quarter phases of the moon, these different, the 4 elements are more active in our consciousness. So we're more creative just after a new moon. And it's a good idea as we come back to a new moon to do our action in the material world. So the first thing you do is you synchronize with the seasons. The second thing you do is synchronize with the moon. This is something that women know that men have forgotten about, obviously. And then what you do is then you mess around with the days. The days are different for different people. The Jewish fraternity, the Muslim fraternity have different days off, different weekends. So we've made this sort of 5-day week, if you like. We've made these artificial months that don't work. That's why it's good to have why it's good to have moons, I call them, rather than months, moon months.
Moods.
Yeah. And then I
that.
do different things on different days of the week. So I read, the days of the week are named after gods, basically, Roman gods. So Thursday is Thor's day. I call it my surge day when I do my marketing, and Friday I call my free day when I just go with the wind and with the flow. And Tuesday is my tools day where I build new tools, and Wednesday is my weeds day where I weed things out that need to be weeded out, and Monday is my men's day, and then Saturday is my sitter day where I sit down having fun, and then Sunday is my sunny day where I get out in nature. So I just do different things at different days of the week, and getting back into natural time and giving yourself that me time every day, that 10 minutes of me time every day, is how you get back in sync. So with your projects, align them up with the moon, line them up with the seasons, and you'll find that when you do that and you go with the temporal flow, they go so much more easily and you get more done with less time.
Yeah, what I've noticed is I would call that alignment.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in alignment, which only happens through mindfulness,
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty much the only way, I think, at least for me, then things flow. They flow and connections come in. You don't have to work as hard at it. It just sort of happens. You just naturally make the right connections. You naturally just have the discussions that lead to the next part. Or the ideas just flow. Like I've completely been in that flow state writing books where I'm just in that state and the book there it is. Boom. I've written a book in 2 days,
Easy done.
And people were like, how did you write that book in 2 days? I got in flow. I got almost like I get in harmony with the material and I don't try to control it. I guess I would say I funnel it. I funnel it through me and I listen to it. I'm listening to it and I'm funneling it through me
Hmm.
to create it in a tangible item. But it already exists. I'm just funneling it through my awareness, and then just, and when I say funnel, I mean like I'm picking the words that resonate in alignment with the energies or the consciousness that's coming through me to be manifested.
Yeah, you're a natural channel. That's basically it. You know, so,
Yeah.
and also, I've got a lovely meditation called Messages in Time. And what it does, as the physicists know, the forward arrow of time is only an illusion, if you like. Time works backwards as well as it does forward. But we decided to incarnate in this three-dimensional space for the forward arrow of time. So it's as easy to pick up future memories of your own as it is to pick up past memories. And what I like to think of, and this might just be a way of imagining it, is you channel your future self who knows the words you haven't written yet, and they come into the now, and you act as this flow state. But if you're in this sort of doubting Thomas mode of, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy,
Oh,
who am I to
such a,
write this book? Then that gets in that blocks the flow, you know?
yeah, that doubting part or that. And then also I realized you need to ask better questions. So like I learned for me, I had to ask better questions.
Hmm.
So for a lot of people in the spiritual community, when you get into these retreats and things and you're
Hmm.
working on healing yourself, and coming back into your authentic state, a lot of the times people will say, okay, I really would just want to find out what's blocking my success. So they'll use that as like the inquiry. Well, when you ask that question, what's blocking me? You're going to find out like a whole bunch of
Exactly,
stuff.
yeah.
Like that's going to happen, right?
Mm.
Versus, I wonder, this is why I switched to, I said, I wonder how I can use my gifts and service while providing for my family. Show me how, spirit. I'm really curious. How does that happen? How does this work? And
Mm.
whenever I switch into that mode, like stuff just instantly comes in. It's just like, wow, here it is. There's a way you can use your gifts. Oh,
Yeah.
here's another way. Here's another way. So it's like endless ways because there's just, it's infinite, right? The time is infinite. The possibilities are infinite. The consciousness is always listening. At least that's what I'm experiencing. How does that resonate for you when you go on your,
Yeah, absolutely. I think that if you think you know your path, and I've given up doing any goal setting. I got involved with SMART goals maybe 15 years ago, and then I got involved with learning-based goals. But I found that the best goal to have is just to enter service, as you say, just show up, be ready to receive and to share, and let it flow. And actually, one of the problems with rather than asking what blocks success, ask how can I redefine success. I mean, to me, I was financially successful twice in my life, but I was really stressed. And so I redefine success now as to be successful without the stress. But also, I don't count myself as successful. I let other people state that. So it's not, all these people say, "Oh, you're a best-selling author because you got number one on Amazon in an obscure category in a local regional store." And but you're only a bestseller when other people call you that. And it's taken nearly 1 million downloads of my meditations, free downloads, I've got to say, on Insight Timer, for me to finally admit that I might be quite good at doing meditations. But I've let a million people say that, not me.
yeah, that is a tricky one when you're a sage. Because
Yeah.
there's like these personality types. I study with a lot of different teachers, and
Hmm.
one of my favorites is Jose Stevens.
Hmm.
And he has this concept of these archetypal types of people. Like we're here to learn this particular role.
Hmm.
And so king, servant, uh, sage, warrior, priest. These are all different types of roles that we as souls are very curious about. And I'm in a sage role. So with a sage, as I think you are as well,
Hmm.
it's so interesting because you are out there. That's all the energy goes like this. I want to
Hmm.
share. I want to share, but you can't, you're sharing and you're just showing up in service. And it's a really tricky little line with the ego because the ego wants to take credit for all that. It wants to be like, this is mine, like I'm so
Yeah.
special. you know, it wants to get in there and like somehow create identity with it and own it, you know, and it's a really tricky little thing to just be the flow of it, to just allow. I like to think of it now as like your innate design. Just you're just allowing the great spirit, the consciousness to leverage your innate design for the benefit of all,
Mm.
however that looks, right? And then you get to enjoy it, which is so cool. You get to be inside having the experience going, this is pretty cool. You know, like you with your insight timer, like you with your meditation, like,
Yeah.
wow, I got to create that thing. And,
Yeah.
you know,
But also,
people like it.
it's also important to have balance as well, because I've had a load of clients that call me Dumbledore, you know, like Harry Potter. And you know Harry Potter. My wife calls me Dobby the house elf at the weekend. You know what I mean? So it's really important to be balanced, and I have to, you know, I have to listen to my own meditations and read my own books to
Yes.
remember what's in them, because I was in such a trance state when they came through. You know, and I went, whoa, did I really say that? You know, did it really come through me? So I know, I know, and there's the drummer of the Doors, John Branswell, I think his name is, said that magic doesn't come from you, it comes through you.
Through you, yes.
Absolutely, yeah. And as soon as your ego tries to own the magic, it blocks it. And actually, one of the things you learn in the esoteric schools is that if you try and use magic for your own betterment, it'll just bounce back at you. You know.
It does. It
Yeah,
does,
so
totally.
I've learned some really amazing magic tricks. I learned how to take conscious control of your heart, Ray, and it's a real Ray. And you can heal with it. Anyone over Skype. I've healed 2 budgies in Canada over Skype and stuff like that. But you can also use it to make someone fall in love with you, and they couldn't resist you.
And that would be inappropriate use of that gift.
Exactly, yeah. So that's why magic has been kept esoteric for many, many years, because men mainly would be using it for their own betterment. So.
You know, that leads me into that. This all ties in with this is a big challenge I had years ago. I went to Ausangate, the holy mountain in Peru, on
Mm-hmm.
a sacred journey with Alberto Vialdo, is the founder of this Four Winds school where I studied energy medicine.
Yeah.
And on this trip, I was super frustrated because I know I have this big purpose. You know, I could feel the big purpose, like you said, tapping into the future self. I know I've got this big purpose. And I was like, well, why is it not unfolding, or why is it blocked? I don't understand. And, you know, I'm this manifester by design. I know I'm a manifester design type, you know, so I manifest things like really easily. So why is this blocked? You know, it's like, wow, this doesn't make any sense. I was super proud of being a manifester. And so I went up to Alberto on the bus on the way to Ausangate because we got an opportunity to spend a few minutes with him. And I said, you know, I'm really frustrated by this. I'm a manifester, but like things aren't manifesting, you know? And he
Mm-hmm.
said, put it all into a treasure box, Carrie. Just dump all of it into the treasure box and give it up. And let the holy mountain show you who you are. So I very begrudgingly gave up my status, you know, as a manifester, you know, because I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I've got to let everything go.
Mm-hmm.
And then ask the mountain, like, who are you? Who am I?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, within 3 months of that trip, I started Soul Nectar Show.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned a really powerful lesson because Soul Nectar Show was easy. It's been easy since the beginning. And it's because you are, just what you said, if you take ego attachment and get proud of the thing,
Mm-hmm.
everything stops. But if you can just allow yourself to be joyfully experiencing that which you are and allow your gifts and talents to be used in service, then everything flows. And it's so much more beautiful that way because everybody gets to benefit. I think I was using my manifester, you know, for myself
Mm-hmm.
at first. Like, oh, I can manifest this thing for me. But the greater play is to use the gifts that you are in service to all that is, to all that would benefit from it. That's the greater play. That's the sweet spot. That's where it feels so good.
Well, you know, there's 2 cards in the tarot. I became a student of the tarot 15 years ago, and the esoteric tarot, not the sort of fortune-telling tarot. One tarot card is the magician, and the
Yes.
magician, it sort of stands like that, and he's pointing to the above and the below. He's got an infinity sign above his head. He's got the four elements on his table, and he can manifest things into the earth plane. And he sits on the top of this cube, the cube of space, and at the bottom of the cube is the high priestess. And the high priestess is sitting there on a cube, nice and comfortable, with a nice robe around her and with a scroll. And the scroll has got all the answers, it's got all the wisdom in it, and she just receives. So she's a cool, so you could call her a womanifester as opposed to a manifester, right? But when in the center of the cube is a hidden dimension. You can't see it in 3D, you can only see it in 5D. And that's the world. It's when you've got everything at your fingertips. And to get into that state, what you do is you take the best of the magician and the best of the high priestess, and you synthesize them into one. And one of the things I teach people is to be mindful of when they're invoking male magic, be mindful of when they're allowing female magic to flow through them, and then to mix the two together so you get to this synthesis magic of the male and female, which is such a lovely place to be, where it really it doesn't just flow out of you, it gushes out at that point, you know.
Yeah. And it's kind of like when it starts to gush like that, because I've had some experience, I'm having experience like that right now of my movement. There can be, when let's say this is the fear of success,
Mm-hmm.
that part enters in because you can't control it. And you're not meant to control it. That's the thing. When that gush and that flow unlocks,
Mm-hmm.
like you just need to ride. You just need to go with
Yeah.
it, ride, don't control it, be with it, flow it, and let it be whatever it's going to be. I think we want to control things, like getting back to the time topic, and
Mm-hmm.
we're so concerned with controlling everything. And I think that's why time controls us, is because we're concerned about controlling this life experience down to like the minute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got a lovely meditation where I leave a gap of time. I've got a clock ticking, but I slow the clock down. And I've done this live several times where it is the gap is 3 minutes, 33 seconds exactly. And at the end of the meditation, I said to people, how long was that? And the spread of time is something like between 2 and 12 minutes. People think that's what. So time is so subjective. And once we allow it to be subjective, we can just slot anything into the allotted time, which is just absolutely wonderful to do, you know. But there's another tarot card that describes the flow state and the gushing state, and that's the chariot. And the
Oh yeah.
charioteer, the charioteer thinks he's controlled, he's got the reins, right? And charioteer is like the conscious mind. The two steeds at the front are like the unconscious mind, right? And they think they're guiding the charioteer along, but the road that they're on is the path. And once you get on that path, you just flow down it. When it's a bit rocky, you've just gone off to the side. You go, okay, I'm off path. So what do I need to do to steer it back on again? And you let the unconscious, through the unconscious mind, tap into your higher self, and then be shown the way. And then you get signs and that sort of stuff. And then and you get wisdom that I wasn't expecting to pick up this lovely bit of wisdom last week about the caterpillar, chrysalis, and butterfly that makes a huge amount of sense and gives you context. But there you
That's
go.
beautiful. I love what you just said about the path, because as we talked about last week with the reinvent yourself program,
Mm-hmm.
that it's sort of a misnomer, because it is. It's like, oh, you can reinvent yourself, kind of. I
Yeah.
mean, you can surrender to who you really are, which is the path.
Mm-hmm.
You are the path, and that's the path of your being. So what you can do is you can release all the stories and the nonsense that keep you from being in the flow on your path. And then when you're in the flow on your path, you're super happy, right? Because things are magical and synchronous, as you talked about.
Yeah. And you don't get you avoid cul-de-sacs. Going down blind alleys.
No
You
eddies.
you avoid forks in the road as well. There are no forks. So, and if you do come to a point, it's clear you're not supposed to go one way, because you maybe go down at 50 yards or 50 meters and you get blocked. So you just back up and go back the other way, So the path gets shown to you, which is such an easier way. And that's where you discover exactly who you need to help you and the information you need to help you on your way as well, which is so sublime. The wisdom is in the scroll that the high priestess is holding.
Well, I have a question for you about this, because you said when you hit a roadblock or a challenge that you back up and then you get back in the flow. But I think that sometimes those what perceived roadblocks are actually strength of character. Like,
Or they can be indications it's the wrong time for you and you're not supposed to go down that road at that time. Yeah.
But
and
some
they
things
can
are
learn
also like
them.
you've got to actually learn this thing in
Yeah,
order
yeah.
to get to the, so if you set an intention, let's say I want to be a spiritual teacher, but at this point I've never experienced any spirituality.
Hmm.
Okay. And so I set the intention, for whatever reason, my heart says I want to be a spiritual teacher. And maybe that's because that's my life's destiny plan.
Hmm.
If I start back here and then I get a roadblock of a challenge of faith, well, that's important to have because that's going to help me navigate to get here so that I could guide others through faith.
Hmm.
Maybe I get another challenge of, you know, needing to understand how time works, for example,
Yeah.
because that's something I'm going to guide people through. So I feel like a lot of times we get that block and we say, oh, I'm not supposed to be doing this. But actually, you set the intention correctly. And this is something you need in order to fulfill this. You need some wisdom.
Hmm.
You need information. You need an
Hmm.
experience so that then you can guide others on that journey.
That's for sure. Yeah. So, I mean, a good example there is that you want to be a spiritual teacher. All you got to do is be a spiritual student, and then you become it. You know what I mean? So you just reframe what it is you want to be. So I wouldn't call myself a spiritual teacher as someone that might have studied some spiritual stuff and is able to teach a few people it, but I don't give myself that title because
Yeah. So,
there's
but what I'm kind of just pointing out though is because we talked about how we were gonna discuss today how we can make it easy, right? Like, it doesn't
yeah.
have to be a lot of suffering. It doesn't have to be challenging. It doesn't have to be hard.
Hmm.
And so, but sometimes the challenges that we're getting, whatever the goal is, it could be
Hmm.
I want to launch my company and be successful, or it could be I want to partner, right?
Hmm.
Whatever the goal it is, doesn't matter. You set the goal along the way, if there's nothing that you need to learn between here and getting the goal, then the goal just happens.
Hmm.
Just boom. But let's say that in order to reach this goal, you've actually got to learn a series of things in order to be the person resonating
Hmm.
inside that actually achieves this goal. So that's what I was getting at.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And
I know
that's,
that you have a different way of navigating. So that's why I was curious about what your thoughts are on challenges.
well, I think on that note is in between the state where you just be and you get on path, and when you learn goal setting to start with. I had this interim state where I had goals of learning, so my goals weren't target based, like $1 million or a Ferrari or this sort of
But a
stuff.
lot of people's are.
Exactly. I just said I want to learn how to do this, and so the blocks would come up, right? But virtually at the same time the blocks came up, the solution came up at the same
Okay.
time, which is kind of neat. And the blocks also were not surpassed, Tom. You might want to learn this, but you're not ready yet. And for your safety, we'll just show you a little go round for now. You can just shivvy around it, and we'll let you know when you're ready to blast through it.
Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is when you get a challenge, that you have a way of checking in, that you're saying you receive the challenge or your perceived block, and then you're actually checking in with your higher guidance
Hmm.
to receive guidance about whether to keep going in this direction, that this is a skill you're developing, or whether to kind of just put that aside for now. Is that right?
Or shimmy around it, yeah, and make do, or retreat. Sometimes you do have to retreat and just go backwards, but that gets rarer and rarer. The more you've got into this learning zone, as I say that, the last thing I'd ever say was I was a spiritual teacher. I'm a spiritual student who happens to be able to teach a few people, but the teaching thing is secondary. If you know what I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're always learning, and just think when you know it, some of the learning just comes in, which is great, and that's part of the adventure.
Well, that is part of the adventure. I had this great spiritual coach, my first coach, who told me, Carrie, what I can do for you is I'm a few steps ahead on the
Hmm.
pathway. So I can call out to you, hey, there's a pothole over here. Watch out for that
Hmm.
pothole, or that looks like you're about to go into a pothole. You might want
Hmm.
to take a look at that. So, it's true. There's like this notion of hierarchy that I think is a construct of Western culture,
Yeah,
that
and,
there's a
and it's very
hierarchy.
much in the Western mystery tradition as well. I'm a member of a male Western mystery school, and also a
Oh,
female
that's
angelic
cool.
and a female angelic school as well. and the male mystery school has exams and questions and this sort of stuff, and the female angelic school just has being.
Well, isn't that a good
You're
summary?
just it, you know, and that's it. So
So the notion of hierarchy, I think, is what presents a lot of these challenges because, you know, we get this idea that we have to be a certain thing in order to know a certain way, you
mhm,
know, and this is really the challenge that I'm addressing through the Skills Not Pills movement is about, you know, these external authorities, you know, that are going to tell you what to do with your health. Like, I need to go
mhm.
see this expert because this expert's trained and they know better than I do about what to do. I have a feeling that you have a different take on that, that there's sort of like this inner authority or inner guidance that you can consult.
Well, if you think about it, your future, the future version of you knows exactly what you've got to do now to be that future version of you, doesn't it? So just tap into the future you, and it'll tell you exactly all you need to know.
So I have a question for you though. So is there one future you, or are there multiple possible destinies?
Oh, well, do you know what? That probably depends on how you think about life. Because if you think there are multiple future destinies, then there are, and if you think there's one perfect destiny, there is. So we live in a duality where everything's possible. So if you think that I could go any which way, right? Then you'll be shown many, many roads, and you've got to try quite a few before you get the one that you want. If you have the faith, maybe, and the belief set that there is only one perfect future, you will resonate with that more. There's a thing called the morphogenic field, which is the field around us. And I learned spontaneously on a past life regression course how to see past lives and future lives in people's auras. And I've been able to teach that to people as well. It even works over Skype as well, which is kind of funny and bizarre. And so if you think about it, if there were multiple versions of you, then when you start to see the future version of you, you see lots of different faces, but you tend just to see the one. You tend to see the faces going backwards that are consistent as well. And but I'm sure that if you wanted to hedge your bets, you could have multiple versions of you in the future.
Hedge your bets. You know, I think we all get those visions,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, of some moment in time that was profound that but we haven't experienced it yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like in a dream or just if we're doing a meditation and we open to the future,
Mm-hmm.
we see that vision and we don't know, we have no idea how that happens, right? We just,
Yeah, yeah. And you can
there's,
see dreams as being future memories leaking back in time. Light bulb moments are future memories leaking back in time as well. So, you know, kind of one of the ways to see all of this is that, and you can only do it when you've gone through this transition. You know, I know that you're at that lovely cusp point. I was 60 just a couple of weeks back, and
oh,
and,
happy
and life.
birthday.
Thank you. And life seems perfect now, but there's no way I would predict it when I was 20 that I was going to be this meditation guide at 60. It wasn't on the life plan. You know, I was not going down that path, but it looks obvious now. But I could have easily not gone down that path. I could have easily not decided. I didn't have to leave any job. I could have chosen to go the other way. I would have been miserable. I might have had a heart attack. And there's so many other things that could have happened. And it's only with 2020 hindsight can you say, yeah, that was obvious. That was meant to be. So if I now was to say, right, I'm going to be this meditation guide for the rest of my days, if you know what I mean, that would then block the flow for all of the other things that can happen. Yeah. And
Yeah.
obviously, but anything I do in the future will bear that in mind. I'll have that, you know, that third career using that skill set, but also building on it and building on it and building on it until you can no longer do stuff anymore.
You know, I love that. This is one of the reasons why I started surrendering everything I think I am
Mm-hmm.
to the spirit of death. I like to work with the spirit of death as an ally
Mm-hmm.
because it really, you know, a lot of times we don't put endings to things.
Mm-hmm.
And I also learned a pretty difficult lesson in my life around telling the same story over and over and over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
that traps you in something that might be inauthentic
Mm.
and of your own creation. And so if you surrender it, I started realizing, like at that moment at Asangate that I told you about, when I surrendered who I thought I was, I ended up with a pretty awesome next part of my life, you know, a whole year of interviewing amazing people like you. Like it was I was like, wow, this is so much fun. And it
Hmm.
raised me up and it inspired me and it filled me with new ideas and it transformed me. But I wouldn't have gotten to that place if I hadn't have put everything, I mean, like everything I had, everything in my treasure box and say, okay,
Hmm.
you can have it. And I opt for the consciousness showing me who I am in truth. I think was what you're talking about with your one true destiny, your one true path,
Hmm.
is to relinquish everything in favor of finding out what that is, because we can create whatever we want. We can tell the story and we can create it and it can manifest and but is that really going to fulfill us? I think oftentimes the thing that we create for ourselves falls short of the magnificence of what's possible if we can surrender to find out who we might truly be.
And a really good example of that is any of my meditations. You channel them through with a certain thing in mind, and what's great about the Insight Timer app, which I'm just one of thousands of meditation teachers on there. It's not my app at all. It's owned by some amazing philanthropists. Is that the people that listen to it tell you what they get from it? They say, was I supposed to get rid of my headache with this meditation, or really calm my child down that was crying? I've had mothers that have been breastfeeding and meditating at the same time. But I suppose one of the funniest things was someone that said, "Was I supposed to levitate when I listened to that meditation?" I said,
What?
you weren't, but it does that. I've levitated once, and I've interviewed on my podcast several people have levitated as well, so I know I'm not just going mad.
That's
So,
amazing. I
so
haven't
what?
done
So what
that yet.
happens when you let that happen? You go, okay, and then the engineer in me says, okay, so how did that happen? So I look at the quantum physics and how when you let time go to zero, then gravity goes to zero as well. So I know when you get into deep meditation and the time it happened to me, time for me just stopped, and then gravity lost interest. That's what happened.
Wow. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. So, but at no point did I go, do you know what? I'm going to learn how to do this, or study it.
You became curious about it.
You allow it to happen, and then you reverse engineer what happened. That's been my approach as this ex-TV engineer. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the anticipation of how it might come to be that limits or prevents that experience from unfolding,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're
And
trying
also,
to
you're driving it
protect.
from ego as well. Wouldn't it be great if you couldn't
Yeah,
become?
because the ego's like, ooh, I want to do that, but only on my terms.
Yeah. Well, one thing I
What
say.
experience that?
One thing I do say is that if you levitate outside, you've got to learn how to unlevitate
Oh
first.
yeah, you'll be
You end up
floating
at the
away like.
wrong bit of the atmosphere.
I think we are definitely entering that time though, that time, that point in human consciousness potentially, where we get to experience miraculous things like that we didn't even know we were going to experience, and then we experience it.
Hmm. And it's happened before, but we didn't have the understanding before. And what's different now from the other phases of human evolution, where we've had step changes? The last big step change is when we got the self-awareness and the ability to talk. And that what was happening there is our sixth chakra point, our third eye, took control of our fifth chakra. We don't give that a second thought now. That we're talking and I'm just having some thoughts, and my fifth chakra is vibrating the air and this sort of stuff. That's what happened. And we're just about to take control of our lower chakra points as well, take conscious control of them. But the beauty is this time we can be in the evolutionary loop and learning what can be done, experimenting on what can be done, working out applications for it. This is the engineering me as well. So I learned how to control the heart rate. When you can just heal anything, you can heal yourself. You can go into a room where it's going to be tense and there's going to be an argument or something like that, and you can soften everyone's heart before you get in there. So there's really good things you can do with your heart rate.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Wow. I
And
could
we haven't
talk
even
to you for
started what you can
hours.
do with the lower mind centers yet, but I know there's some amazing things you can do with the solar plexus, sacral, and root chakras when you take them under conscious control.
Yeah, have you done that? Have you taken them?
Yeah, by accident. Yeah, well, the solar plexus chakra. I've got several meditations. I've got a whole course on chakra awakening, and it gives you a different relationship with each chakra. But the main thing you get from your sacral and root chakra is with the sacral chakra, you can get your needs met. That's the need center. And with the solar plexus chakra, it's your seat of intuition and guidance. But they speak in an old language. The solar plexus only speaks in a yes or a no, and the heart speaks in a level, as in a cold, a lukewarm, or a hot. Solar plexus, the sacral is just, it's primal, it speaks in a very primal way. The root is very primal and allows you to connect with the earth. But there's a state that I've been initiating several people into called the unified chakra, where you just one big chakra. So you don't have this separation anymore, which is a lovely way to be.
Oh, wow. One big chakra.
Yeah. And then you got the, don't get me going on the alpha chakra and omega chakra and the ones outside our body.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm aware of my 8th chakra.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the conduit, yeah. And again, we should be. They speak in different ways. They communicate in certain ways. And I'm in the school of thought that you don't open your chakras up and then close them down. You leave them open, and that you're open and in flow all the time.
Although sometimes too open of a chakra, as somebody who's clairvoyant,
yeah, you've got to be careful.
Really need to know all of that information.
Yeah.
I don't need to know what
exactly. Yeah, and the last thing I learned very early on is if I ever got information for other people, the last thing you do is try and read anyone else's mind, because I have enough trouble with my own thoughts and don't want to get other people's. So these are all tricks. And then if you start messing around with other mind centers and other people without permission, it's just not a good thing. It bounces back. And like I said about seeing and reading the aura, I wouldn't even look at anyone's aura unless they gave me permission to, or we're doing it therapeutically.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I just have experienced this because I'm a healer. So I can actually shapeshift into other people. Like,
oh, there you go. Yeah.
And it can be so complete that I forget me. That I'm okay, and all of a sudden I'm feeling sad and I'm, I've got these terrible thoughts and I'm like, why am I so, I became them. Okay, now I got to come back over here and be me. Yeah. So it's very a fluid boundary. So that's why I brought that up, because I actually teach people that are like me, how to have a better boundary, and more discernment over what's yours and what's someone else's, because it could get confusing when you're able to really tap in that way. So, wow. I want this conversation to go on forever, but we are at the end of our hour. Dang. How did that go by so quickly?
Well, an hour is only 1,000 miles. The Earth has moved under our feet 1,000 miles. We've gone with the flow. That's the way it works.
Oh, man, I love this conversation.
Yeah.
I'm lingering in it for just one more moment. Okay. That was great. So how can people play with you? I know you mentioned your course.
Oh, I've got many courses, many meditations, many books.
How do they find that? Is it your website?
Yeah, that's the easiest way. If you just go, my website is my name, Tom Evans, and it's .co, just .co, not .com or .co.
What is that? So
I think it's Colombia, I think it's it comes from.
So you just
not that I'm not trading drugs through the site or money laundering. Not that I don't raise any disparity in anyone from Colombia, but no, it's basically I just got into the game a bit late, and the .com had gone, and it's quite a common name, Tom Evans. And so I got the .co, and you'll find meditations there. I always have a free meditation on the homepage, and I do these daily nuggets of mindfulness, and I've got meditations courses. Doing a lot more speaking now than I used to as well, and actually I'm so rewarded that corporates and businesses are getting into this, and I'm teaching a lot of businesses how to use mindfulness techniques to work faster and smarter and leaner, which is great.
Yeah,
people are looking for new ways to do things, which is fantastic. That's why most of my teachings have got a practical outcome. You can do something with them.
That's important, because especially if people are just getting started, that practical piece is so important to get some results so that you can trust it more and then dive in deeper and get some results and trust it more and dive in deeper, so. Yeah.
And it all starts with just treating yourself to 10 minutes of me time every day. That's been my kind of mantra. Do that every single day. And that is an investment of time you'll get back many, many times over. And I believe in that so strongly, is that loads of my 10-minute meditations are just free. They're out there as free gifts for everybody.
Wonderful. I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing your gifts with us today.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, and I'm really intrigued. I'm sure that my audience is as well by your meditations that have produced levitation. So we'll see what
Mhm.
happens there. That's a cool experiment to run. Okay.
Exactly. But do it inside. Do it inside so you've got the ceiling to stop you here.
Do it inside the house. So I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. We went all over the galaxy and back through so many topics, and we probably have to have you back, Tom, because that was a lot of great
That'd
information.
be lovely. And we can do a guided meditation as part of the conversation next time. How about
Oh, that'd be great. I would
that?
love
Yeah,
that.
that'd be good too.
So we'll see all of you guys next week on Soul Nectar. Blessings to you.
Blessings. Have a nice day.
Bye.